Good evening, everyone. It is Cherie M. Good, the Recharge Strategist, and I am just having a blast this week. So it's been busy, but I love it because the feedback we're getting from everyone who has viewed our webinar series so far has been just astonishing. I've been getting inbox messages from vets who have been watching our series. I have been getting inboxes from people who just felt like we are really touching areas of their life that they really, really need. And so I am just ecstatic because I didn't know where this webinar series was going to take us, but I knew that this was an important topic. Mental health is super important. And I knew that we needed to get this global message out. And so that's why we've been having health and mental health professionals from all over the world chime in, give us the goods about everything they know and their knowledge about mental health. So the first night we had Kiana F. Brown. She talked about forgiveness and healing, something that's major and imperative to move you to the next trajectory of your life. Absolutely. Then the next night we had two ladies from Louisiana, and we had someone from Georgia who were speaking to us about managing mental health and mental illnesses. And then we also, last night, we had my twin sister, Cheryl Wood, and Dr. Roz talking about healthy relationships, how to nurture them, when to know when to walk away, and just knowing the importance of relationships, support systems, things like that. So tonight is not going to be any different. We're going to have a phenomenal discussion again with two mental health professionals. One is coming straight from Boston. Her name is Anim Awu, and I'm hoping I'm pronouncing her name correctly because I practice it. And then secondly, we have Joshua P. Smith, and he's coming to us from Mississippi. So I want to say hi to everyone that's here on the live Zoom. So Dee Bolden has been rocking with us 4 days now. So shout out to Dee Bolden. Anybody looking how to get that money, you want to check out Dee Bolden because she is known as the money chick. So we definitely have to make sure that we shout her out because she's been a staunch supporter since day one of this week. We have one more day left, and tomorrow we're going to be talking about how your gut health affects your mental health. Did you know that your stomach and your gut actually has an impact on the health of your mental state? So tonight, without further ado, I'm going to have our special guest introduce themselves and tell you about all their fabulousness because they can tell you about themselves better than I can. So ladies first. Sorry, Josh, we're going with the ladies first. So ladies first. Anim, please introduce yourself. Tell everybody all about you and your fabulous self.
Sure. Hi, everyone. My name is Anim Awe. I'm a licensed clinical therapist. I am born and raised in Boston. However, I currently reside in Atlanta, but currently in California, working on some, building out some programs here, helping out a local rural county. So my background is also in public health. So I'm a certified health educator as well. And so that's how I was able to fuse the two between mental health and health education. So I'm really passionate about Black women's health, and not to get into any specifics just yet, but really interested, invested in helping Black women understand the continuum and understanding that there is a real importance in both addressing your physical and mental health and how both can impact one another. So that's kind of what I focus on in my practice, kind of helping folks see the how important these two are together. And that, I think often the westernized medicine kind of treats the two separately, and I think it's time that we fuse them and bring them together.
Absolutely, absolutely. I'm super excited to have our conversation with you this evening. And so basically all those states you named, I mean, you worldwide, girl, you got it going on. I hear you. Next, we're going to head on over to Joshua P. Smith out of the Mississippi. You know, I had the hardest time spelling Mississippi in school. I just want to let you know that. But now I got it. M-I, crooked letter,
Crooked
I,
letter.
crooked letter, P-O-M-I. Right, so I got it. Whatever. I messed up. Maybe I did. But I had the hardest time in school learning how to spell Mississippi. So we got you here. I know how to spell it now because I've been typing about you. Tell everybody about your fabulous bad self.
All right. Good evening, everyone. My name is Joshua P. Smith, and I am from Gulfport, Mississippi. We're on the coast, so right there by the beach on the water. And I've been in the mental health field now for 11 and a half years. I specialize in the treatment of depression, grief, anxiety, and trauma. I'm very passionate about mental health. And as our previous guest has said, the intersection of our mental health and our physical health, but also our spiritual health. I teach that we are triune beings, and so we're body, soul, and spirit, and we shouldn't separate those two because we need all three components to make us whole and together and complete. And so the way that I approach things is from that mindset that we have to treat the entire person, the whole person. And so that's kind of how I look at things and how I deal with individuals. I'm also a corporate trainer. I am a speaker. I travel international. Last year, I became an international speaker. So I travel around and I literally teach people about mental health and about emotional wellness and kind of try to break that stigma that people have about mental health. And so I just give some wellness workshops and talk about what mental health is. I'm able to go into churches and do that. I'm able to go into corporate America and do that. And so I have a business that's actually set up to do that. And so my passion is to see people live emotionally healthy, whole, and free.
Awesome. I love it. We are going to have a really good conversation. I want to shout out some folks who are tuned in on Facebook Live. So we have Joanna D. Samuel, who's been rocking with us since day one of this webinar series. And she's from St. Croix, y'all. She's from the Virgin Islands. So this webinar series is having a global impact. We have, who else we have? We have Clarissa Law on here. We have Tay Hart. Thank you, everybody, for tuning in. We so appreciate you tuning into this important message that we're delivering today. So please share it because this is an important topic, like I said. So share it out to someone else. Share it on your Facebook pages. We're going to get this thing global. We're going to take the stigma out of people thinking that there's something wrong with admitting that you have a mental illness or even seeking help. Because let's face it, we can't do it by ourselves. Sometimes it's necessary to have medication. Sometimes it's necessary to have someone else that is a professional in that area to actually help you get through whatever situations that you may be under. So we're going to jump on in. So I'm going to start with Anim.
Yes.
So in your practice, I heard you saying something about, you like to coincide the two. So I know that physical and mental health, they coincide because if you have poor physical health, then that can increase your risk for developing mental health problems.
Yes.
And then on the other end, if you have mental illnesses, that can affect your ability to actually participate in healthy behaviors. So talk about that and educate our crowd on that a little bit.
I think it's I mean, you're absolutely right. It's like the chicken or the egg, right? But I think in terms of prevention piece, I think it begins with having these conversations early. I think a lot of, when I think of like chronic disorders like hypertension, diabetes, I think we often, especially in the Black community, we kind of say, oh, these things go and run in my family, they're passed on. But I do actually think it is a lot of behavioral issues that are passed on and maladaptive coping. And I think the inability to speak about or speak up about some of the issues that we're facing, like stress, long time and chronic stress over time can just cause breakdowns of the body. So I think which then turns into issues like, diabetes, or not just that as a sole factor, but all those play a part into it. So I think if we have these conversations early and expose our families and young people to these conversations early and give them a space where they're allowed to have these conversations, I think that can help in terms of a prevention piece. And that's part of the work that I do in my company, Therapy Over Silence. Not necessarily in the, we're not speaking about therapy in the sense that, speak with somebody like myself or my colleague here, but in the sense that, getting help, talking to somebody and figure things out and figure out what support you need or what avenues you need to go to get that support that you need. So that's part of the work that I do in kind of exposing and giving that information out early.
Awesome. And I love the part you said about talking about it because you can remember all of us have family members who suffered from mental illness, but we didn't talk about it back then, right? Because what did grandma and mama say? Well, go on in this house, stay in this house, right? So you didn't talk about it. And the person that stayed in the room, that was locked in the room, they were depressed, manic depressive. We didn't know it because we didn't talk about it. But in all actuality, they were suffering from mental illness and we never ever talked about it. But we need to know if we have that gene. We need to know if that's something that we're predisposed to in our families and whether we have that potential. I mean, I'm a caregiver to my mom who had a late onset of mental illness after her menopause, which was really interesting to me because they had never heard of someone being diagnosed so late in life of bipolar schizophrenia. And so now that I know she has that diagnosis, I'm extra protective of my mental health and making sure that I have those moments of stillness, making sure I'm mindful, making sure I relax, making sure I say no to somebody else to say yes to myself, because that overwhelm, that stress that you talked about can take over. And then, mental illness doesn't have a face. It
Right.
doesn't have a face. It can happen to anybody at any time.
Absolutely. Or the opposite, right? Well, there's, our dad or daddy there has like type 1 diabetes and he refuses to talk about it, refuses to get help. And so what does that do, right? There's that shame, there's that guilt that comes with that. Then he doesn't get the help that he needs. Then that advances to something else. So it really is on both sides of the spectrum, both physically and mental. It just kind of replays how it all interrelates.
Yeah, we have some more people joining us. So on Facebook Live, so I want to shout out some more people. Hey, Evangelist Naomi, thank you for tuning in this evening. Please share this message out. We appreciate you being with us tonight. So I'm going to go over to Joshua now. So I know you say you specialize in like anxiety and things like that. What, what part do you correlate mental illness or mental conditions with physical health? Let's talk to you about that and your perspective from that.
Okay, I like something that you said earlier about taking care of yourself and saying no to certain things, and decreasing your stress, being able to manage your stress. I think that people get confused when we start talking about mental illness, and they get mental illness confused with mental health. And so I always like to give people definitions, so that they can understand the difference. So mental health, just as we are concerned about our physical health, we should all be concerned about our mental health. So mental health, I put it this way, it's just satisfactory adjustment to the ordinary demands of life, such as stress. And so your ability to adjust to those demands and not crack under that pressure, if I can say it that way, that speaks to your mental health. Now, mental illness, on the other hand, that is a brain disease that impacts or impairs your ability to be able to function with the ordinary demands of life. And so I tell people all the time, if you don't take care of your mental health, if you're not intentional about taking care of your mental health, just like you take care of your physical health, then what you do is you kind of open yourself up to a mental illness, even though you may not be predisposed to one. You may, develop one because you're not taking care of yourself. And so I think when people see it that way, then we'll start taking better care of our body, because we're body, soul, and spirit. And so we can't separate them, because that's all of us. We're interconnected. Like, you see me live, you don't see my internal, you don't see my soul or my spirit, but all of me is here, right? You see my body, you see that shell, but I have to be whole in order for me to all be here and all be present, if that makes sense. And so we have to make sure that we're taking care of all parts of us, because it's all interconnected.
Absolutely, absolutely. And I like what you say. I always use the scenario of a puzzle. Like when we were younger, we put a lot of puzzles together. We need to get back to that. But puzzles, we're a three-part puzzle: mind, body, and spirit. If one part of that puzzle, you had that one little piece of that puzzle that was missing, you didn't get the whole picture. If one piece of that puzzle was bent, it didn't fit properly, you were upset because you couldn't get the full picture. Well, if we want to present our whole selves, if we want to be whole, then we have to make sure each part of that puzzle we focus on it at some point or another. And the pieces that we know are broken or bent or need some extra work, then we got to put in that self work and that self care to make sure that we're protecting that piece so that it continues to fit properly and keep us whole. So I'm going to go back over to you, Anim.
Okay.
So we're going to talk about improving your physical health in a way that it will impact your mental health. So what are some of the suggestions or ways that you would encourage someone to improve their overall health in order to impact their mental health?
I would say exercise. I mean, of course, depending on your abilities, your mobility, and things of that nature. But I think exercise, and the data shows that for both mental and physical health, that it has a tremendous, opportunity to kind of reverse or even improve someone's mood or physical health or well-being. So I think and that doesn't mean going out to do an Orange Theory class or something that's beyond what you're capable of, but it's really starting where you feel comfortable at and doing what works for you. Little things like going for a walk. Some of the things that keep me motivated is like counting my steps. I kind of always want to outdo myself, and that way I don't feel like I'm in a competition with anyone else besides myself. So I think exercise is undoubtedly the single most, thing, thing that we can do to kind of help us in, you know, making advances or changes rather, both in terms of our mental health and our physical health.
Awesome. Joshua, I'm going to refer that same question to you.
Well, I would, since she used exercise, and that's really good. Also, the foods that we eat.
Mm.
So the foods that we eat play a major part in how we feel, our dopamine, our serotonin, those neurotransmitters, those chemicals. There are certain foods, and I have a whole list actually of foods that you can eat to decrease anxiety. So on the other hand, there are foods that you can eat that will increase anxiety. I don't know if many people know, but spicy foods oftentimes increase anxiety. But you can eat things like walnuts, salmon, oatmeal, bananas, strawberries, spinach. Those type of things actually help decrease anxiety in your body and release certain chemicals that may relax the muscles and help those neurotransmitters in your brain to function correctly. And so, along with the exercise, you know, even when you go and you're focusing on your physical health or you're exercising in the gym, any trainer will tell you that it's not just enough to exercise if you go and you're eating dirty. So they tell you to eat clean while you're exercising or you won't see any results. So the same with our mental health. You know, we have to exercise to get those chemicals going and feel better. But then what are we putting in our body, right? In
Yeah,
our
because
temple.
you can't out exercise a bad diet. That's what they say. You can't out
There you go.
exercise a bad diet.
Yeah. And so I think when we have these conversations, which I love, we have these conversations and we help people to see, okay, this is how we talk about it with our natural health or our physical health. These are the same type of conversations that we just translated right over to our mental health, and it's the same thing. It's the same concepts, the same principles, and you often don't think of it that way. But having these conversations kind of help people to make the connection.
Absolutely. And just having these conversations, we know a lot of this stuff. We know what we're supposed to be eating, but we just don't do
Yeah,
it, right? We
yeah,
know
but we
what
don't.
behaviors we're supposed to do, right?
Yeah, but we may not know that the foods that we're eating
Yeah,
are making us depressed,
yeah,
or
absolutely.
those chemicals in the chicken. Granny used to say that chicken ain't that chicken don't look right. That chicken is a chicken leg don't look like that. That something
Right.
is wrong with that chicken. And so what Granny is saying to us is they're putting chemicals in that chicken and I'm not, getting into the whole vegetarian, pescatarian discussion because I'm neither, but I'm just saying what I'm saying. They're putting chemicals into the food, and that is having an impact on
Hmm.
not just our physical health, but our mental health. And so we need to be looking at that and having those conversations.
Absolutely. Well, I'm pescatarian, so you're not sticking no
Okay.
chicken in my face. So I am pescatarian. That was a lifestyle change that I chose because you have to be in tune with your body. So when I was eating beef and pork, I noticed every time I was eating it, I was getting sick. I'm like, why are you doing this to yourself? Every time you eat it, you're getting sick. So that was the first two meats that I cut out, but I was still eating chicken and turkey. And then eventually I was just like, I'm not feeling that either. So I just cut it out. And now I'm telling you, my gut feels better. I feel better. I feel more lively. I feel more energetic, eating a cleaner diet. So know how foods make you feel. So pay attention. If you notice every time you eating that fried, greasy food that your mood is now suppressed or you're feeling depressed, then you need to make some necessary changes, cut those things out of your diet. So absolutely. Some other ways that we can improve our physical health outside of eating nutritious foods, decreasing that sugar intake, decreasing that salt intake, is staying hydrated. Because when you're dehydrated, that can cause confusion, that can cause
Yeah.
fatigue. So how much water are you drinking? Yeah, it's okay to drink other beverages sometimes, but remember when you're drinking those sugary drinks, it's giving you a false sensation of feeling energized and feeling good, but then it brings you back down and you crash. So knowing what these things does to your body is definitely necessary. Staying hydrated with water. Water is the best thing that you can drink. Exercising regularly, getting adequate rest is another one. Anim, can you touch on the importance of rest when it comes to your mental health?
Oh, sleep. I mean, just like you kind of mentioned in terms of dehydration can be the difference of like whether like you appear delirious or not. And I think sleep is the opportunity for your body to recharge and reset. Granted, with like the depressions and anxiety, sleep may be interrupted. So oftentimes we can have presentations with our clients, who often complain about the sleep issues, but as much as you can, definitely try to make time for it. So there are some classes around sleep hygiene where basically you can work with an individual. I'm not trained in it necessarily. I do know some of the fundamentals, but work with that individual to kind of develop a plan that helps you get to sleep, like shutting off these phones, shutting off these laptops, shutting off the TV, things of that nature. Probably using some aromatherapy in some sense for some people as it makes sense for you. So kind of really learning what works for you and your body. But sleep is absolutely necessary for individuals to kind of, for both your mental and your physical health.
Absolutely. And I teach a session on preparing for sleep. So that's why I brought sleep up because I'm serious about my 8 hours. I need my 8 hours. It's like it's no game. Don't wake me up. Don't wake me up. I need my eight, right? For me to feel whole. And I know that about myself. I'm going to lay there. And I don't just jump up in the mornings when I wake up. I lay there and wait. And I relax a little bit and I just lay there and let my body say, hey, okay, just like you warm your car up, I got to warm my mind, my body up before I step out of that bed. Don't just jump up and run into action. That's another way. You're already setting yourself up for failure because you're anxious because you just jumped up out of your sleep and you're running to do a task. No, you need to warm your body up. Just like you're a fine-tuned machine. Warm that baby up before you start going. But preparing for sleep is necessary. Making sure that you're in a dark environment so that you can have that melatonin absorption so you can get that restful night's sleep. So some of us are sleeping, but we aren't restful. We're tossing and turning all night. Are you having that restful sleep? Are you in a cool environment? Because we know when you're hot, you're going to be tossing and turning as well. So a cool environment. We have hormones that are released in our bodies when we're sleeping. So it's been noted that even sleeping in the nude can be more beneficial than sleeping with clothes on.
And helps with anxiety is my understanding as well. Sleeping in the nude.
Say it again. I missed what you said.
And I've read a study that it helps with reducing anxiety, sleeping in the nude. I don't know how factual that is, but
Right.
I mean, give it it's worth a try, right? It's a free
Definitely. Yeah.
antidote remedy you can try at home.
Yeah, and preparing for sleep. Again, I say it all the time. Like, what is your brain? What are you telling your brain when you walk into that place of sleep? Is your brain now saying, "Oh, it's turn up time because she about to turn the computer on, she about to turn the TV on, she about to text," or when you walk into that place of sleep, does your brain automatically get the message that, "Oh, she's about to shut it down"?
Right.
That's the message that you want to give your brain every day when you go into that place of rest. That hey, when you walk into that space, it's a place of peace, it's a place of serenity where you are ready to relax. And all the time you may not fall right to sleep, but if you're laying there and you just can't sleep, it's best to get up and then try again. And I give I always get repeated for this one tip that I give people: if you're not getting enough sleep and you feel like you can't sleep, get up and eat some peanut butter, eat a scoop of peanut butter, because the protein in peanut butter, it's a quick source of protein. Instead of trying to eat a steak or something heavy that your body can't digest, do a scoop of peanut butter, and that's going to help you to relax quicker. I have some comments from some folks here on Facebook Live. Clarissa Law says she believes that in the AA community, when we hear mental health, we automatically think crazy. But like you said, Joshua, we all have mental health. And if we don't tend to it, like we do our physical health and spiritual health, when we are healthy in all areas, we have coping strategies to manage stress and stay in balance. Absolutely, Carissa. Thank you. Evangelist Naomi said, water, 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 pure. That's right. Purify your system by staying hydrated. And then Clarissa also said, yes, sleep is important. Part of self-care mental health is not pushing yourself beyond its limits, which causes stress. So Joshua, talk about anxiety and stress a little bit, because I know you said that's one of the areas that you focus on.
Yeah, and I would like to connect that question to sleep.
Cool.
So I kind of like to break up sleep and rest, and it kind of connects to what you said about having a restful sleep. I deal with a lot of people like in the corporate sector, the business world, who, when I give them that spiel that that the two of you just gave, they're like, well, I can't shut my brain off. I don't know how to do that. And I'm anxious is what they're saying. And I have a lot of ideas going through my head. And so how do I do that? And so one of the things that I recommend to people, as it relates to anxiety and rest and having a peace of mind, is that when you come into the house, one of the first things that I recommend people doing is just sitting in a space somewhere that's quiet and just relaxing. Just don't do anything, just be. And I repeat this quote, I don't remember who said it, but you're not a human doing, you are a human being. And
Mm.
so we just have to just get in a place somewhere and just be. Don't have anything to do. Shut your brain off. And that's something that we have to practice, because many of times our brain is just going and going and going. But if we practice sitting still in a quiet place and letting our body rest and our mind rest for at least 30 minutes. And one person told me, I sit in my car before I go into the house. And I said, you know what? A lot of people do that, and they don't realize that they're giving their mind and their body time to just decompress, not decompose, right? Decompress and unwind, so that they can prepare to go into the house and deal with the next part of their day, whether it be cooking for their family, dealing with the spouse, dealing with children, dealing with whatever they have to deal with. And so I encourage people to decrease stress and to decrease anxiety, to give yourself at least 30 minutes to decompress, so that you can prepare for the next phase of the night. Um, Also, with that, you mentioned going to bed and preparing for bed. I absolutely love that, because what I find, especially with people who are in business, is most of the time our office is in our home.
Yeah.
So, and that also equates to our office either being in our room somewhere, like our bedroom, or in our bed, literally. So we have laptops in our bed, we have phones in our bed. And so I recommend this 30-minute rule again that I have, at least 30 minutes before you have scheduled time to go to sleep, that you turn off electronics, that you turn off the television. You need to sleep in a completely dark room, no television on, no lights, face mask if you need to. You may have a spouse that wants to have, the TV on or whatever. Face mask, earplugs is what you need if it's time for you to go to sleep, because you want your brain to begin to start to wind down. Because if you just keep going and going and going, you're teaching your brain a pattern and a cycle, and it's just going to live that out. It's just going to keep going and going and going until you be intentional about stopping.
And a lot of times we don't even know how fatigued we are, because if
Yeah.
you actually go in your place of sleep or rest and you shut everything off, you'll probably be asleep like this. You'll be asleep
Hmm.
in 5 minutes. You'll be like,
Every
man,
time.
I don't even remember I was asleep. That just
Yep.
that silence alone, like you said, it helps to de-stress you. So I was joking. You and I were talking about when we were preparing for this segment about how we have to take breaks in between the roles that we play in life. And I was telling you how when my kids were little, they're older now, they're 19 and one will be 25 this week. But when they were younger and I would sneak in the house from work, I would go in my closet and I would sit on the floor in the closet, and they were running around like, I know mommy's home, I know she's home, and they're running around. It was like a game to them. I was just trying to, get myself together to be the best mom to them, so that I wasn't grouchy because I dealt with patients all day at the nursing home. Then I dealt with traffic because I was driving 50 miles each way to work. So I needed that time for my mental space. So I hid in the closet. And I was like, you know what? Nothing wrong with that closet. It's sitting on that floor. And it just felt
Hmm.
so good. And then I was able to move into that role of mom, cook them dinners, get them ready for the next day, give them baths, and do things like that. So know yourself, know what overwhelms you so that you know how to prevent that overwhelm in the future and do things that can help you to, like you said, de escalate, de stress, so that you're able to be the best version of yourself you can be.
I have a
Now,
point to that.
sure, Anim, cut in anytime.
So, we were talking about sort of the silence earlier. I think more moms need to hear that and hear things like that and hear that it's okay to do those type of things. Because one of the things I get from new mothers or, just moms in general, they feel this guilt, they feel this shame because like they feel like they can't take care of themselves. They feel like they can't take a time out. And I just,
Right.
I think, and again, this is about opening up and no longer just staying in these walls of silence, but like letting other moms know, like, hey, it's okay, and normalizing to say that, you can take a time out for yourself, because how can you expect a mom to be a good mom if she doesn't take care of herself, if she's not whole, if she's not well, like she can't really be there fully for those little ones. So I think that's a beautiful thing that you mentioned, and I think more moms need to just hear this and know that it's
Mhm.
okay to do that.
Exactly. And on yesterday's series, we were talking about relationships and setting clear boundaries. So it's up to us how other people treat us. So even moms, set your children down. I say you can even have practice sessions. Now it's time for mommy's me time, and have them do yoga with you. You might not want the kids with you, but it helps them to, number one, develop self-care habits.
Mm-hmm.
Number two, it helps them to appreciate and know what you're talking about when you say, now it's time for mommy self-care, or it's time for me time, then the kids are like, oh, mommy, you ready to do yoga? Kids pick up, they understand. So
Yeah.
set that precedent that, hey, mommy needs some time, because give mommy, this amount of time so she can, then she'll come and deal with you. Okay. And so kids pick up very quickly. If we have
Yeah.
routines, they'll adopt that.
And then they're going to realize that they want to give mommy
Yes.
that.
Mommy's much nicer today. Mommy, you been drinking?
Absolutely. Absolutely. And
Yes.
I was going to mention boundaries. I'm so glad that she said that. Of course, I've never been a mother, never will be, but I've dealt with, mothers before, because that's just a part of practicing and talking with people. But it's even across the board that people just feel guilty about boundaries. Sometimes they feel guilty about saying no. And that goes back to that human doing versus human being. Like you want to be a good mother, a good father, a good spouse, what have you, but you are more than your role. You're more than the role that you play. You are you, and you were somebody before you created those roles. And so I have people often, when they're wrestling with that, I have them write at the top of a piece of paper, who are you? And I have them answer that question, I am, I am. And they have to answer that question without any roles, without any titles, without any responsibilities, without any achievements, because I want them to get down to the center and the core of who they are and separate who they are from what they do. And once people do that, then they start realizing, okay, I have to take care of who I am so that I can be good at what I do. And so that kind of helps people to identify who they are and have better self-care so that they can be comfortable having boundaries, because many times we set boundaries and we tell people what our boundaries are, and we expect them to respect those boundaries, but we don't even respect our own boundaries.
Absolutely. I love that. I'm challenging everyone tuning in right now to perform that exercise that Joshua just mentioned. Do that I am. Who are you outside of the roles that you play? I love that. That was a juicy one. I like that. So I think I'm going to do that myself, because we get lost in all these titles and roles that we have in life, and we lose ourselves. But we need to get back to being, like you said. I really like that. So we have some more comments, because I want to engage everybody. So Evangelist Naomi said that she turns on the rain and it helps her to release while she's getting ready for bed. It calms her on those extra days, and by the time she gets into the bed, sleep is easy. And then she also said, yeah, kids will start to tell you when you need a timeout, mom. So yeah, they'll be like, mom, do you need a timeout? Mom, do you need some self-care? You need some me time? So they will notice the difference when you're nurturing yourself, when you're taking care of yourself, versus when you're stressed and when you're overwhelmed and you need to brain dump or whatever it may be. So let's talk a little bit about like your social health when it comes to your mental being, your mental wellness or mental health. Social health is also important. That's an important aspect, because who and what we surround ourselves around can have an impact on our thought processes and what we do for ourselves mentally. Who wants to jump in?
I mean, I can start. I mean,
Okay.
having a strong social support network is extremely important. I think, Joshua, you can agree, like, it's one of the top questions that we ask in whatever
Absolutely.
assessment you use. We always want to assess for that social support. And I think that does look a little differently for everyone. I think, when I think about like social media these days, I think there's this big push for everybody to be like an entrepreneur. And if you're not an entrepreneur, then you're doing something wrong. I think if you find a group that sort of is healthy in the sense that, they support you, they protect you, they love on you the way that you need to be loved, and they sort of enhance you in ways that you're looking to be enhanced, I think that's the most important thing. It's kind of hard to say what is right versus what is wrong in terms of like a social support network. But I think just finding that core group that's there for you in the ways that you need to have them show up for you. And I think that looks very individualized, but that I think that would be my take on that.
And making sure that it's a healthy, meaningful relationship, not
Right,
just someone occupying space and who has a negative impact on you.
right.
Making sure that you have someone around you that is honest with you, who's going to tell you when, well, something's not right with you. I think you need, to chill, or I think you need some time to yourself, or whatever. You need to have that. You need to have relationships where you are respected and you feel loved, and also you feel safe and supported. So definitely. Joshua, did you want to chime in on that topic?
I do. She mentioned that is one of the questions that we ask when a person comes in, we call it an intake assessment or a psychosocial. We ask them about their support system because it's been proven that with mental health treatment or when someone has a mental illness, people who have social supports, a good support system, and or they have a good religious faith of some kind, that they recover more quickly. And so both of those things are speaking to community. I have a saying that says that we are healed in community and we grow in community. And so it's not good that we should be by ourselves. And so we are created and we are wired to be connected, one with another. And so you just have to, as she said, you have to find the people that you're meant to be connected to. That may change as you grow throughout life. And so you often have to assess your circle and see who's around you, who's giving off that negative energy that you don't need in your space, who's supporting you and who's not. Who is at what level, because there's some people that if you're in a crisis, you know that you shouldn't be calling them because they're not going to be affirming, they're not going to be helpful, they're going to be judgmental, even if they don't know that they are being that way, but you know that because you have assessed your circle. And then there are some people that you absolutely can call because you know them, you know who they are. So it doesn't mean that you're pushing people away unless you just have to, but it means that you know your circle because you've assessed your circle. But everyone needs some type of social support to help them build a network of people that they can rely on, that they can lean on. And I just simply call it community.
Yes, great, great. So let's talk about let's delve into some of the other mental illness that we talked about them the other day, but depression, schizophrenia, anorexia. I know like all those things have even been linked to dental problems, which a lot of times people be like, what? How does dental health have to do with mental health? But it actually has been linked because it says that like if mentally you're not healthy, that you're going to neglect things like dental hygiene. You're going to neglect going to your doctor's office to get your physicals. You're gonna neglect all the healthy care, and then that can lead to other problems like your oral health can lead to heart disease. So when we talk about your general health having an impact on your mental health, or your mental health having an impact vice versa, it's really really serious. So when we talk about mind, body, and spirit, it's not just words that we use. It's actually a very very serious matter. And then improving your physical health and making sure that you're nurturing it while you are completely healthy. Because the older we get, the likelihood that we could get just some mental health disorders as we get older, like Alzheimer's, some things we just can't combat. Just with age, there are things that could come out. So we want to nurture our health now while we're young, while we're healthy, so that we'll have a better chance of fighting off those other ailments or diseases when we get older. So maintaining a healthy weight is important to improving your physical health, washing your hands frequently to prevent illnesses. We already talked about getting your adequate rest, exercising, staying hydrated, eating those nutritious foods that are going to nurture you. The next thing you have to do is cut down on those unhealthy habits. So we know what unhealthy habits we have, and it's for each of us to discuss. But like smoking, excessive drinking, recreational drugs, those are some things also that can have an impact on your mental health and your mental well-being. We have we have a couple more comments. Um, Evangelist Naomi said a support system with people who understand you and know how to get you what you need to feel okay to process in the safety of your circle. Absolutely. And then Clarissa says she's involved with people who are challenged with mental illnesses, and one of the goals is to build natural supports. And she said this is a very good conversation, and she wants to thank you guys for sharing that information. And then, hello, Danita. Thanks for tuning in. Danita says Sundays are her self-care nights. She does her Facebook Lives with Mesa. Her bubble bath, candles, lavender oil, and diffusers, they help her to get ready for the week. So self-care is a necessity, which you've heard us say over and over and over again. So could each of you just share with us, this time I'll start with you, Joshua, share some of your self-care um, regimens that you use to keep yourself mentally well.
Okay, so I guess by now you can tell I'm a little different. I look at things a little differently. So when I say self-care, or when the word self-care is used, it's become so popular. And so it's kind of what we call a pop psychology thing. And many people are getting ideas about self-care or what self-care actually is from social media, because that's where we get our information from. So what people call self-care, those are components of self-care. But when I talk about self-care, I like for people to kind of look at it a little broader. When I say self-care, I like to think of it as a lifestyle.
Mhm.
Okay. So it is a lifestyle. And it's actually, the way I look at it, is building a life that you don't have to take a vacation from.
I like that.
So self-care number two is also a plan. And so I literally have made a chart and I share it with other people. I have spirit in one column, body in one column, and soul in one column. And so I tell people, make a plan for how you're going to take care of yourself in all three dimensions. Okay. So beyond just bubble baths and taking the day off and eating a box of chocolates every now and then, because what we call self-care is sometimes just self-indulgence.
Yes.
Yeah. So self-care is a plan. And again, it's planning for a life that you don't have to take a vacation from. And so I kind of try to create my life in a way that I have, space to take care of myself, but I've made a plan for all three dimensions of self, like going to the gym. Okay, that's on my plan. How am I going to do that? How many days a week am I going to do that? And then who's going to hold me accountable to that when I start slipping?
Yes.
Okay.
I love it.
Yeah, how many books am I going to read? That can go into spirit or soul. It can go into both columns.
Mhm.
I'm a therapist who has a therapist. Okay, how many times am I going to see? How many times can I fit that person in within the course of 3 months? Because I can't see them every week or even every month, because I just have a calendar that's, just out of this world. So when am I going to fit them in? Who's going to hold me accountable to that? Is it his secretary? Like, how is that going to work? Getting to my physicals. Um, I'm a man. We don't like going to the doctor. So when am I going to go to my physicals? Because if I don't plan for that, first of all, I'm neglecting my self-care. And then secondly, I'm just not going to do it. So I have to make a plan in the body dimension to take care of my body. I recently added massages. Prior to this year, I had never had a massage.
Oh,
Yeah, and I'll be 35 this year.
wow.
So I added that to the body dimension. It's one of the best decisions I've ever made in my life.
I was just gonna say how you liking that one. I know you're loving it.
I love it. I love it. And the
Yeah.
first time I went, the lady asked me, she's like, "What do you do for a living?" And I said, it's kind of a loaded question, but let's just say I'm in the people business. Everything that I do, even though I am the biggest introvert in the world, I know you can't tell, but
Yeah.
everything that I do is related to people. And so I said, I'm just in the people business. So what I ended up doing is signing up for the monthly plan. So you see how I'm building this out to let you all know that self-care is a plan. Like, I had to hold myself accountable so that I know that I will be getting massages every month now to take care of my body. So the first time it just hurt like mad. But I ain't no wimp though. I'm not gonna say, that hurt. But I was sore the next day and I'm like, oh Lord, what have I done? But the next time that I went, I wasn't sore at all. I didn't have any issues. It felt good the first time, it just hurt. This time it feels good and it's just perfectly great.
Mm,
So those are the type of things that I do to make sure that I have a self-care plan
yeah.
for my life, and not just a self-care day every now and then. I'm just doing things like I get stressed and I take a bath. We should be taking a bath every day. That's that's not self-care.
Right.
That's hygiene. That's
That's
hygiene.
hygiene.
Yeah,
I love it. I love it.
yeah.
Yes, I totally agree with what you're saying. Like you said, it has to be a lifestyle, and
Hmm.
what self-care looks like for me and what self-care looks like for you are two different things. So that's why it's a
Yes.
self-care plan. So you have to look at yourself and what do I need? What is it about me that I need to adjust in my life? So like my self-care plan was that I needed to adjust my nutrition because I had some unwanted pounds that I just didn't want and I needed to release them. So I started changing my eating habits because so I could be happy with where I was. My gut feels better. I feel better. I feel more energized. I've released 36 pounds so far, and I'm not done yet. But it's my self care plan though. So again, like you said, it's not I need to go get a massage. Some things self care doesn't have to cost money, and that's what
Right.
people think. People think that self care has to be something that's tangible or something that where you spend money. No, self care could be just I need to go in that closet for 15 minutes and hide from my kids so I can shift roles in life or hey when I come in from work how do I calm myself down and quiet my brain? Or how do I brain dump? Do I have moments of stillness? Do I have mindfulness? Do I just stay in the moment? How do I relax? Do I get a glass of red wine and just chill with my feet popped up and do nothing? No cell phone, no laptop, nothing. So it's all about what makes you feel good and whole, mentally, physically, emotionally, spiritually. Anim, I'm going to let you tell us about your self-care regimen as well,
Um,
or whatever you consider self-care to be.
Yeah, I agree with Joshua 100%. I think it is about making a plan. For me personally, I do struggle with anxiety. I mean, I'm the therapist that has anxiety, and it was a big deal for me. What I've learned for myself is taking that time out in the morning as soon as I wake up, and is just sit there and thank God for waking me up, because I knew, and I don't mean to get religious with people, because I don't know where people fall in on that, and I like to respect that. But for me personally, it's every day is a gift, so I like to remind myself of that first. And then I have these two books that I study from, a workbook about anxiety, and this other book that kind of just has all these motivating quotes that help me kind of just settle in the moment and kind of get my brain relaxed and get prepared for the day, and just remind me how great I am. I mean, self care for me is just doing little things, going for a walk. Like I said, I'm obsessed with my Fitbit, so like I love to get my steps. That's the thing that I do for me, and that's something that I plan to do every single day. Get my 10,000 steps every single day. I read in the morning every single day. I thank God for waking me up in the morning. So I mean, I agree, it's about making a plan, and I just don't want to see anyone like feel like they have to go into depth, because of this idea of of self-care being over. I mean, it's a great thing, but I think with social media, it can turn into this thing with influencers and stuff like that, where it really is individualized, as you both were saying, and it really depends on what you need at that time. And for me, the definition of self-care is like, carving out a little bit of time every day to put you first.
Yeah.
So that's what it means for me. So that's what I do for myself. I mean, I used to be really bad. Like when I used to go spend a bunch of money, get all this credit card debt. Like it was horrible, and I realized I didn't do anything but make me feel worse.
Right, when that bill came, right? And you had to pay that credit card bill, that caused more stress. Then you needed some more self-care.
Which costs more money.
Yes, yes, absolutely. Let's see. So Joanna from St. Croix, she said self-care does not cost money. That was a nugget to remember and shout. And then Evangelist Naomi, she says self-care for me includes time to get into the presence of God through prayer and meditation, calming music, sitting quietly and reading, knowing herself enough to ask for help when she feels overwhelmed. A special treat, loving on her grands is a happy place. So yeah, know your happy place. Know when you just don't want to be bothered. I mean, that's okay. Sometimes I don't feel like talking. That doesn't make me wrong. That's me performing self-care. But look, just leave me alone for a little bit. I'll be back with you in a little bit. Not taking phone calls, not answering text messages, and doing those things unapologetically. And when you say no to other people, make that the complete sentence. There's no explanation needed behind it. No is a complete sentence. Nope. And that's it. So we're going to start wrapping up our conversation. Thank you both for giving us your time this evening. We have about 10 more minutes, so I want to give both of you an opportunity to give some last words about, mental wellness, mental health, mental illness, whatever you want to share. And then let everybody know at the end how they can stay in contact with you, how they can utilize your services. If you have any products or anything that you sell or specialize in, shout it all out. So I'll start with Anim, ladies first.
All right. My last words, especially for the women out there, because we are the mothers, we are the focal points of our families, and I think we have to remember to take care of ourselves, because ultimately our children will look back to you for how they learn to sort of navigate life and experiences and relationships and all that type of stuff, and our health, right, from you. So I think setting the example from early at home and having these conversations mean a lot to those children. So I hope you are encouraged tonight to start having those conversations and start talking to the kiddos about certain topics and creating an opportunity where they feel open and feel like they can come to you and have these conversations. If they're struggling at school emotionally, you're noticing this grades are slipping, things like that, just create space for them, I would say. And that would probably be my takeaway. And take care of yourself first. Healthy moms need, kids need healthy mamas. So I'd say that. And get in contact with me, www.animawelcsw.com.
Because I was messing up all the kind of spellings. Spell it
Yeah.
out for them.
It's ANIMAWEHLCSW.com. So if you're in Georgia, if you're in California, if you're in Massachusetts, I can work with you. I can do online sessions with you. I'm also launching a product, Therapy Over Silence. Again, it's going to be a platform that houses all this sort of educational materials around wellness and, have an opportunity to dialogue among other people. So that's hopefully going to happen in the next 3 months. We have t-shirts, we have pins, all the proceeds go to launching the project. So support if you can. And just thank you for having me.
Oh, thank you so much. Anim out of Boston, y'all. Clap it up for her. This was amazing. Thank you so much for sharing your knowledge, your gifts, your talents with us. And I love what you said about moms. Busy moms, please take breaks for yourself. Please make sure you're putting yourself on the calendar first, and everything else should be centered around you being on the calendar first. We schedule everything else out. We schedule our appointments. We schedule our kids' appointments. We schedule birthday parties. We do everything else, but we won't schedule time for self. So every day you should be the first thing on your calendar. If something doesn't get done, guess what? It goes on the priority list for tomorrow. All right, we're going to go over to Joshua. Give us your final words of wisdom, and then we're going to and tell us how we can stay in contact with you, and then we'll wrap it up for the night.
All right. Well, thank you for having me. That was my pleasure to serve. I just want to remind everyone that mental health is for everyone. So everyone who is alive, everyone who is breathing, everyone who has a mind, a body, soul, and spirit needs to be concerned about their mental health and wellness. And so I just want to remind us to take care of ourselves. I have a saying that says, the healthier we are, the more effective we are. And so if you want to be effective in business, effective with your family, effective in relationships, whatever you do, you first have to be whole. And so mental health is for all of us. So this is kind of what I want to leave with you all. Again, it was my honor to be here. Thank you for having me. If people want to get in touch with me, they can go to my website, which is thejoshuasmith.com. Okay, that's THEJoshuaSmith.com. And you can see all of my information there. You can see products, see my itinerary, where I will be, all of that. I'm not currently doing any sessions across state lines. I do have mental health coaching that I offer, but right now those sessions are closed for new clients because my travel schedule is so full. But if you would like to bring me in to speak to your company, your organization, your church, your nonprofit about mental health and wellness, I'd be more than happy to consider that in the next half of this year. So you can do all of that on thejoshuasmith.com. Also on social media, you can look me up, Joshua P. Smith. That is my like page and my personal friend page, Joshua P. Smith. And also on Instagram, it's the same as my website, The Joshua Smith, THE Joshua Smith on Instagram.
Thank you. You both were amazing. Thank you so much for just giving us some of your time. Are we all on Eastern Standard Time, or are you all on a different time?
Currently on Pacific, but I'll be on Eastern tomorrow.
You'll be on Eastern tomorrow.
Central.
And you're Central. Look, I just took them all out of their comfort zones. They're going to need some self-care after dealing with me tonight. But anyway, thank you both for pouring into the audience. Thank you so much for your wisdom, for your knowledge. We appreciate you. Keep doing what you're doing. It's a much needed work. I am just ecstatic because right now, even before tonight's session, we are already over 1,500 viewers for this webinar series. Over 1,500 people already. So that lets me know that people want to be mentally well. And if they do have mental illnesses, they want help with how to manage their mental illnesses. So we have to stop being secretive about our mental health. Let somebody know it's okay. If you need help, get the help that you need. So this is day 4 of 5 of our webinar series. Tomorrow we will wrap it up for just some mental health awareness. And we're going to be talking to a doctor tomorrow, Dr. Stella Auburn. Oh, I might have messed that up. It's Dr. Stella tomorrow. And we're going to be talking about how your gut health impacts your mental health. So tune in tomorrow, 8:30 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. Make sure you look up all our professionals. I've tagged them on my social media pages. If you miss any part of this webinar, it's going to be on YouTube. It'll also still be on Facebook for you to please replay it, share it out. This is a message that we need to get out to people all over the world. And that's why we have professionals from all over the globe, not just the DMV area. It affects everyone internationally. And so I appreciate everyone that's on Facebook Live watching, and commenting. Thank you, Dr. Evangelist Naomi. She put the websites out for us. Dee Bolden is chiming in. She says self-care includes attending church regularly, listening to jazz, quiet time, reading a book, and enjoying good red wine. I knew I liked you, Doctor. I knew I liked you, Dee Bolden. So everybody, thank you so much for tuning in tonight. Don't forget to chime in tomorrow evening, 8:30 p.m., and we will be talking about how your gut health impacts your mental health. Have a good evening, and don't forget to set your self-care plan.
Good night. My laptop is about to die.
All right, there we go. I just stopped the recording. Thank you. Oh, wait a minute.